Okay, everybody, in this lesson, I'm going to go over chapter 3 of the text, and in here we'll be creating a simple form. He does it in the book, I'll do it in my own. We'll do the same thing. But what I want you to pay close attention to is displaying errors and error reporting. Okay, so what I've already done is pre-built a form, and let me show you that real quick. This is the form right here. And I'm going to go ahead and save the page into my application, into MAMP. And what I did was, much like the textbook, I have a text field, a radio button, a drop down, and a text area. I don't have any checkboxes yet, but we can get to that level shortly, within a week. So I'm going to, I'm in htdocs right now, and I want to make sure I go into section 3, the folder 3 here. So I'll have form.html inside there, but I'm going to make sure that I open it up with Sublime next. So here we go. We're going to open this up, and actually I'm just going to drag my folder into Sublime, and hopefully my form is visible at some point. Let me go back to my actual form.html. We're going to go to this, and I'm going to make sure that I save the page again to make sure it's in there, because it doesn't look like it appeared. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. So let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. It happens. I'm just going to drag this into there. There we go. Perfect. Don't know why I had a problem before, but here's our form. I have no head tags, no traditional HTML. All I have is a form action and text inputs, radio buttons, you're in school, comments, and submit. So what I'm going to do next is show you, let me go to, I have an error.php here that I'd like to borrow, and yeah, I'm just going to keep, borrow this, and I'll close it out. So I'm going to open up PHP right here, okay? Now, notice what my extension is on this file. It's a .html. So let me show you what happens. I'm just going to echo high class. Notice how Sublime does not color code this, because what Sublime thinks right now is that there's no PHP in here because it doesn't have a PHP extension. So let's go ahead and go to our localhost and look up form.html. So I'm going to go to localhost, go to chapter 3 and look at form, and if I look at my source code right now, you see how PHP is visible? That's proof that PHP isn't functional right now. So that's an issue. So what we need to do is go in and change our form to .php. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right inside the file. So now I have PHP. Now look what just happened. It says form.php here, but not here. So now I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it, but I'm going to open up form.php. And now we get what we need. Okay? So what we'll do is show you how PHP gets form data first. So what I'm going to do is have a form action, and we're going to send the data, that's where the action goes, to form.php. Okay? Now, one of the most important lessons I'll ever give you, and you'll get it again if you take other classes at Mesa or any web development classes, because just let's be honest, dealing with form data is one of the most important things we do in this business. So what I want to show you is the method. There are two different methods in form delivery. One is called post and one is called get. Okay? And what we're going to be doing is testing each one of these. Okay? So what I want you to do is, if you're following along or using the form from the textbook or simply just watching, I'm going to call this form.php, right? And what happens when I register? Notice how there is a question mark, then full name equals, then nothing, and then year equals freshman, and comments equals nothing, and submit equals register. Well, let's fill it out. I'm going to type in Chris Secor, male. I want to be a sophomore. and I'll put test. With this form data now, watch what happens when I hit submit. It says full name, Chris Secor, gender male, year sophomore, comments test, submit equals register. We sent 5 pairs of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we sent them what we call via the get method. Notice how the method is blank here? That's because the default method for forms is get. So if I hit get now, I've actually filled out my HTML, but nothing will change. So what is it about the get method and why do we use it? Well, we use it for hyperlinks, linking from page to page. But if you take a good look at this, right? Watch what happens if someone were to sit at my computer and just type in a question mark. I would get a cached history of everything I entered. So what that should tell you is that forms that have private or personal information should never, ever use the get method. If it's a credit card, a social security number, even a birthday, anything you're uncomfortable with, don't use the get method. Instead, you would use the post method. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to our form here, and what I'm going to do now is change my method to post. Okay, I'm saving it and I'm going to hit refresh. So notice how I have that query string in there. Now I'm just going to erase it. And now I'm going to do Chris Secor, gender male, junior, and test. Oops, there we go. Hit register. Now I have nothing in the query string. Thank goodness. I have private information about this person, and it's all sent invisibly, which is very nice. So that's the difference between the get method and the post method. It's okay to use the get method if you want to cache the values. So what's an example of caching values where you'd want to cache them? Well, let's say you were on an e-commerce site and someone was adding something to a cart. It's not a bad idea to do that because they may come back in a while. Let's say the cart goes away over time because the developer for the e-commerce site wants the cart items to be invisible, wants them to disappear, wants to clear out the memory. Well, when that e-commerce user comes back, if he hasn't cleared out his browser cache, he would see what he had put in his cart and he would then be able to add it again. So there are instances where the get method works with forms, but for the most part, any kind of personal data you want to use post. And this is really, really super important. Okay? Really, really, really important. Can't stress it enough. So we've got this post method. Well, great. What do we do next? How do we get the data out? Well, let's say I wanted to get the full name value. What I would do is echo underscore post, because we're using the post method, and full name. Cool. Well, let's try it. So I'm going to save this, hit refresh. Nothing will happen. Oh, there we go, because it was in the cache. But, I can say something like Dave Smith. Okay, and hit register, and there's Dave Smith. So what we've done here is output scalar underscore post full name. Okay. Now, how would we get the other stuff? Well, let's echo a break tag, because I want to have some HTML. I don't want these things running together. And now let's echo scalar underscore post gender. Okay. And I'll echo the break tag again. And then I'll echo scalar underscore post year. Okay, just like that. Now notice the key. I'll call this the key because post will come in as an array, which we haven't even covered arrays yet, but we saw it with the server superglobal. So this is the key of all the post vars. In fact, if you'd like, we can var dump the way we did in lesson 1 and just do the whole entire post var so you can see it. And lastly, I'll echo a break tag and then oh, by the way, PHP ignores white space, all of it, so you could actually, output scalar underscore post comments down here. And I believe that was, oh, it is capitalized. I'm going to make it small case. So now I have this, and I can hit refresh, and that's the printing of what we just submitted. So let's redo it. I'll do ksecor male sophomore PHP is awesome. It's actually pretty easy to learn. And what's cool is you're actually programming right now. So this is what you see above. So this is the array of the post var. This line right here is what you see up here. Then you see post full name, post gender, post year, all the values I wrote. PHP is awesome. You see string, 15 characters, that's what that means, and you see submit. Okay, well that's good. That's good. So let's say let's say someone just comes into the site right now, and let's just clear our cache. I'm going to go back to this and go to form PHP. If they access the site right now, they see this. Okay, that's not good. So we'll comment out that. And what if we did something like this? Have a string like full name, and then a colon like that, and then a dot. Something like, excuse me. So I have single quotes, and now I can hit this, and you see full name and nothing, right? But we would only want this to be seen if the user submitted a button. So let's go ahead and do the rest of these, just so you can get an idea. A dot, and then we'll do a single quote year. Notice the pattern. I'm using single quotes, a colon, and then a dot. And I can add a space between the single quotes, and that space will show because it is a string literal. Now I'll do comments, colon, like this. So what I'm doing is working with the page, and now I can hit form, and you see I have full name, gender, year. But you only want someone to see it if they actually hit the submit button. Well, if you recall, when we var dumped the post, we actually got the value of the button. We did when we actually hit the submit button. So this name field, remember, PHP only knows names. It knows full name, gender, year, and submit. Everything else here, option tags, select tags, PHP has no idea. All I know is that they have values coming in via post method, and it'll have name attributes. So that var dump post is all PHP knows. So how do I remove this, these outputs and only output on condition of submit? Well, what we could do is write our very first condition or if statement. And we'll be doing control statements later on in the course, but right now this is useful so you can see your first if. And it's very much like English. It says, okay, if something, then do something else. So what am I testing? I want to see if post and submit has a value of register. So if post submit happens to be equal to register, then I'm going to put those values. So this is getting quite good now. Now I'm saving this, and now I can go back to my form, and you don't see anything there, but if those values do have a value, if the comments or the register button does have a value register, I get my value. And that's a very important thing. The last thing I'm going to do is show you a little bit about error handling. Now, I can do error reporting and all, and this will show you all errors. It'll show you warnings, notices, and errors. So let's go ahead and hit this, and I'm going to hit this, and you'll see there are no errors because it's functional. But let's say I had a value of Chris, something like that. And I hit refresh again. I don't get that at all. And let's say I echo it. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and echo it, and there's still nothing there. So basically, on my localhost, I'm going to go back to the bottom here, and here you see undefined variable Chris in application docs form.php. It's undefined because it never had a value. So what error reporting all will do is it's either going to output to the browser, any set, and we can do display errors and turn it on with the numeral 1, and that would set up our errors hopefully to be visible inside map. But either way, your logs will have it, and when you do that, when you show your errors, there we go. It may not have worked, but there we go. Now it's displaying. So undefined index gender, because I never added a gender value. It's a notice, which means it's just it's warning me, hey, you have a variable that's not being used. So a notice is not anything wrong, and over the first few weeks you guys are going to probably email me and say, I've got this notice, fix it. Well, don't worry too much about it. It's there to help you, because what we're going to do is when it's over, what we're going to do is just, and we load once we're done with dev, we're going to basically turn off our error reporting by putting a 0 right here. So let's go ahead and hit that, and you'll see what I mean. Now there's no errors, okay? Even though I didn't add anything. Anyway, so the book goes into it pretty well and pretty good depth. One thing I want to be a little bit more clear on is this word any set. Any set will set your php.ini file for the duration of the script. So what is a php ini file? Well, that's the file that defines your PHP settings. And in closing on this video, I'll just show you where it is. So if I go to MAMP and I go to, should be inside config, I believe. Yeah, here it is. So you see all these versions of PHP that come with MAMP. We'll go to the latest version. It's constantly updating. And so PHP 7.3.1. This is that PHP ini. So I can open this up, and I'll open it up in Sublime, just because we're having fun with Sublime. So what you see is the PHP Initialization File. So it's responsible for configuring many aspects of PHP's behavior. And what we just looked at was display errors. And here you see default value on, and you see this is all commented out. So what I did was just turn it on in that section. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do is teach you the whole server overall and how to deal with it. But during development, you're going to want to have error reporting at EAL, and then you turn it off with error reporting 0. Anyway, that's the gist of Chapter 3. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.